Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward back with another Lettermen Live brought to you by Byers Auto. Very special guest, thrilled to have him in here with us again. It's Cardale Jones, the national champion, the undefeated starting quarterback, and a very busy guy around Columbus, so always great to catch up. Cardale, one of my favorite personalities on the team, and man, just how are you, got your schedule overloaded? How are you keeping it all straight? How do you show up in the right place every day?
Just keeping it, like you said, having a set schedule on my calendar, man, and setting my priorities straight, because a lot of things that I'm doing now are near dear to my heart. Giving back and, still being able to have a chance to work on my craft as well.
Where do you want to start? I know you got +2 university going on. You got the softball game. You're doing a lot in the area right now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty curious too about the +2. I don't know anything really about what you're going, what that goal is for you.
Yeah, so the goal is it's a training facility, kind of membership style, and our goal is really to not just shape and get the best out of the athlete, athletic-wise, but to develop a lot of character traits as well. Because we all know, whatever sport you might play, whatever sport you're into, then going to the next level, that next play, the next game is not promised. So we want to prepare young athletes not just, for their playing fields, but for life as well, to, how to have, personable character traits, how to approach someone, how someone to approach you, and things like that.
I think I remember one of my first days covering Ohio State, Urban Meyer's practice and training camp in 2012 was the first time I might have heard a reference to a +2. That's an Urban thing, right?
Well, I think all great coaches have a way to, get their point across to a player of doing more. You might hear the phrase of going 110%. You might hear the phrase going +2 or finish through the line or 4 to 6 and things like that.
Okay.
So that's kind of, that's where it somewhat came from. But, Coach Lake being a guy under Coach Trussell, I'm pretty sure he heard that phrase many times as well. So, yeah.
And then we got the softball game coming up. I think you've participated in some. I remember a few years back in Cleveland, you were doing some stuff with that, and now you've got your own here.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where I got the idea from. Joe Hayden had a great event up in Cleveland years ago, and I had an opportunity to be a part of it. I didn't play, but just to be a part of the, a lot of the guys I looked up to, growing up, watching them play football, and now have an opportunity to run my own, similar style structure, with a lot of the guys who I looked up to playing at OSU and coming back and wanting to join the cause and give back as well.
Yeah, you're putting together some pretty good-looking rosters there. And are there some bragging rights up for grabs too?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everybody wants that first win, and with this being my first game and the first year I'm having it, definitely, I feel like, I want that bragging rights to have that first trophy going home with me.
Okay.
But we'll see. I mean, Team JT looks pretty stacked as well.
You're already putting together some lineups in your head, getting excited for Saturday?
Yeah, so it's still a little more planning and strategies going on with batting lineups and things like that, so we'll see.
All right, what can people expect at that game?
A fun event. I mean, we're going to have live commentators, we're going to have music, we're going to have great players, great time, many giveaways each inning. I think it's going to be a really cool, fun, family-oriented event, and that's the whole purpose of having it, on top of giving back to cancer research.
That's so cool. It's fun. We're talking with Cardale Jones here on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. All right, let's shift gears. Let's talk about football. What's going on, for you as you get ready for another season, another mini camp, training camp, that whole deal?
Yeah, just getting ready for camp. Of course, camp leads right into preseason, within leads right into the season. So I'm heading back out to LA, make the best of my opportunity, and see where we go from there.
Has that pro career worked out the way you envisioned so far? How would you assess where you're at?
I think, in a way, no matter what, you can never be prepared for the next level of whatever you might do, next level of life, if it's your career or wherever it may be, because you've never been there before. You can have expectations, but I wouldn't say I wasn't as prepared as I am, but in a way, I wish things were going better or went a little differently to this point.
Yeah, well, it's always a challenge, right? I mean,
for sure.
That's that +2 thing too. It's like, it's not going to be easy at the next level. You go
Exactly.
10-0 as an Ohio State quarterback, win a national championship, but you got to go earn it all over again.
Exactly. And that's the hardest part, kind of starting over your whole resume and building another name for yourself other than, what you've done already.
And we've got a Buck IQ coming with Cardale this week. He's looking at Justin Fields. Some of this stuff, I'm not going to make him rehash it too much. You can look for that on the site later this week. But those former players, you, JT, Braxton, guys who played quarterback at Ohio State in the last 5-6 years, still pop up at the Woody. When you guys see Justin Fields and maybe tell him about the standard and what it takes to win, you think he can handle it, or what are those conversations like?
Well, I never try to get engaged with conversation with players like that, because these are players that coming from top programs in high school. These are players that are highly recruited, so they've been under that pressure
Okay.
before. So I'm pretty sure. I think Justin was like the #1 recruit in his class. Still going to a top university like Georgia and having to, battle with Fromm. I think the quarterback's name is
Yep.
a really good quarterback, and being behind him and having to kind of take that backseat role after being the guy in high school, to
Yeah.
be the guy in the nation. So he understands. I'm pretty sure he understands the pressures of what it takes to not just be the quarterback at Ohio State, but a quarterback at a major university. And whatever happened when he didn't, win a job or didn't have the opportunities he might have wanted at Georgia, I'm pretty sure he used that experience here and better his career.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So what if Cardale and Justin Fields meet in the Woody? What are those? What would you guys talk about?
Whatever he wanted to talk about. Like I said, I'm not the guy to go tell him, hey, what you should be doing and things like that, because
Sure.
everyone has their own way about getting ready and connecting with the players and their own routine.
Yeah.
So if he ever came to me and asked me for advice, I'd be sure to give it to him the best way I can. But also, what works for me or what worked for me at that stage of my life might not work for him.
Gotcha.
And vice versa. So, but I'm pretty sure Coach Day and his staff has a great plan for him, and make sure he hit the ground running.
Cool. Cardale's still working to hit the ground running himself. Got the soft. Where can they get tickets to the softball game?
Eventbrite.com, and you search Cardale Jones, or we still selling tickets at the gate. It's almost sold out. It's about 400 tickets left. Buckeye Field only seats 1,500, but it's going to be such a great event.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Softball game +2 University. Cardale Jones breaking it down on Buckeye Q later this week for us here on Lettermen Row. This has been Lettermen Live with him, brought to you by Byers Auto. Now we're going to kick it over, bring Birm in, talk about Ohio State recruiting. All right, now we welcome in my main man, the director of recruiting at Lettermen Row, Jeremy Birmingham. And Birm, my head has been spinning from all these commitment stories, the analysis you've been bringing, Birminologies with everybody jumping on board with Ohio State. This momentum is really building for Ryan Day.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we talked about it for months, which was let everyone get comfortable. Let the coaching staff get acclimated. Let the 5 new assistant coaches figure out their way around Ohio State. Let them figure out how they fit into the Buckeyes program. Let recruits come into Columbus and see how things haven't really changed at Ohio State as far as on the macro level. And then you look at the micro level of the differences in personalities and the way that the Buckeyes are approaching things. We tried to caution everyone about getting too worked up or too worried back in the early part of the spring when recruits weren't making their way to Columbus, because Ohio State didn't want them to visit in February. That's the reality. If you can bring these kids to Columbus in the summertime, it's a whole different ballgame, and you can get them to see things and experience things in Columbus that they wouldn't get to in February and March. And I think ultimately what you're seeing is confidence in Ryan Day and his program from players and their parents, high school coaches all over the country who have gotten to know him. And it's paying off for the Buckeyes. And, I told people last year, expect a top 5 class in this class. And I think that it's on track to stay there. They're certainly set up for a big finish.
Talking Ohio State recruiting with Birm here on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. All right, that big finish. How does it progress from here? What's next? I know a couple players have set some decision dates that might directly impact Ohio State.
Well, right now I'm counting Ohio State with 19 2020 commitments because we're not counting kicker Jake Seibert, who is going to gray shirt. So that means there are 6 spots left in this class, because I've been told pretty adamantly the number is going to be 25 players for Ohio State in this class. So right now we know that 4 players are going to make their announcement in the next 3 weeks. One of them is Court Williams, the linebacker, safety hybrid from California, who does not have a decision date, but he said it's going to happen by the end of July. Then you have Lathan Ransom, the 4-star safety from Arizona, who's committing next Tuesday, the 16th. That's going to be between Ohio State, Texas, and Notre Dame. And then you have Jalen Knighton, the 4-star running back from Florida and Deerfield Beach, who's down to Florida State, Florida, Miami, Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma. And then August 2nd is Bijan Robinson, the 5-star teammate of Lathan Ransom, who's making his decision between Ohio State, Texas, and USC. So with 6 spots left, 4 of them should be answered by August 2nd. Whether or not all those guys commit to the Ohio State, I don't know. I think there's reason to feel optimistic and confident that all of those guys could pick the Buckeyes. But what you're looking at for Ryan Day is heading into this season and in the August training camp and all that stuff in Columbus with pretty much 95% of the recruiting class done. And then you have 1 or 2 spots left where you swing for the fences for a guy like Elias Ricks, the 5-star cornerback who's committed to LSU, or Vernon Broughton, the defensive lineman from Houston, who Larry Johnson's a huge fan of. So what you're looking at right now is a recruiting class that 2 months ago felt completely adrift, now being pretty much locked up by the end of July.
Birm, that most recent addition there, Mookie Cooper, and Brian Hartline, the work that he's done there on the recruiting trail with wide receivers seems almost hard to believe. Put in perspective for us here just what he's done over the last, I don't know, couple months or a year or so, since even when he was interim wide receivers coach.
I think the most important thing to understand here is that Ohio State lost 3 of the best leaders in program history after this last season in Johnny Dixon, Terry McLaurin, and Paris Campbell. They're going to lose 4 more receivers this offseason with Benjamin Victor, Austin Mack, KJ Hill, and CJ Saunders all graduating and moving on. They had to restock that receiver room. And what they've done in this class of 2020 with 3 of the top 13 or 14 receivers in the country is unbelievable. And I think I wrote about it in the analysis piece for Mookie Cooper, but last year, Brian Hartline took it very personally when he did not land Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. They really thought that he had done that, and then he ended up committing to Kentucky before eventually signing with Nebraska. And when the opportunity to get in with Mookie Cooper came up, it was something that he was not going to let pass up again, because they need that slot guy that is that pure slot dynamic guy in the mold of Rondale Moore and Wan'Dale Robinson. And just the whole class, the comprehensive view of Julian Fleming and G. Scott and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Mookie Cooper and even Cameron Martinez, if you include him, they have completely restocked that room, and now they can turn the focus to 2021, which already has Jaden Ballard committed at wide receiver, and you see guys like Emeka Ibuka out in Washington and Marvin Harrison Jr. So all those guys could be committed by the start of the season as well. So you could be looking at an absolutely unprecedented run by Brian Hartline, who has shown over and over that he is a difference maker for Ryan Day.
Probably going to need a little bit of bump in pay from Ohio State, the way he's making moves. You saw what he did last year on the field with those receivers that you named, and then the recruiting run. He's pretty well positioned for the future. So,
yeah, if you look at it right now, in the national recruiting rankings for assistant coaches, which 247 Sports does for some reason, I don't know exactly how they analyze exactly who's recruiting who, but Hartline is the 2nd-ranked recruiter in the country behind Todd Bates, the Clemson defensive line coach, who has 5 of the top 10 defensive linemen in the country committed. So you can sort of, agree to that. And number 3 on that list is Jeff Hafley, who is on the verge potentially of adding Lathan Ransom and Court Williams. So those two could be jockeying back and forth for the lead recruiter on the staff. And it's pretty amazing when you think about Ryan Day and the group of coaches he's brought in. Everyone's so young and just that it's a totally different vibe than we're used to, and you're seeing it really start to pay off.
It's working. That's Ohio State making moves there on the recruiting trail. Birm's got that covered for us at Lettermen Row all year round. Stay with us for that coverage as Ohio State keeps working on that 2020 class. Wrap it up. As we mentioned, a couple big dates coming. He's Birm. We appreciate Cardale Jones hanging out with us on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Byers Auto. And I'm Austin Ward. See you next week.